Hello and welcome back to my channel. Fall of Númenor finally arrived to me, the deluxe edition, and nevertheless I'm still waiting for a regular edition to come. That will not hinder me to make a review similar to other reviews on my channel of such manner. So welcome to the video and stay tuned for next 15 to 20 minutes, I hope, that I will use to leaf through the book and to tell a few words about the edition and to tell a few words about the book itself. Welcome.
You're my honey bun, sugar plum, pumpy umby umpkin. You're my sweetie pie. You're my cupcake, gumdrop, snickle, snickums. You're
on the beginning, we should say a few words about the design itself. The design is, to say, regular deluxe edition, similar to these editions, as Fall of Gondolin, Baron and Luthien, Children of Húrin, etc. But the hue is somewhat new for this kind of editions, I would say, and it's quite similar in hue with another deluxe edition in which Silmarillion was published, and these editions are proper and genuine deluxe editions, I would say, while these editions are plain editions. I would declare that they do not deserve anymore to be named as deluxe editions and to be put next to such design as the Silmarillion was published in, and as well the Unfinished Tales. Yet from now on we got this kind of deluxe edition, and to reprimand is quite idle in such situations. So with the book came this leaflet, as we used to. It says, a brand new standalone work by J.R. Tolkien and Christopher Tolkien, edited by Brian Sibley, as the first ever presentation of the events of the Second Age of Middle-earth in a single volume, with the following exclusive features. Drawing together texts from many published sources, including the Silmarillion, Unfinished Tales, The Lord of the Rings, and volumes of the history of Middle-earth, Brian Sibley has compiled a chronological narrative of the Second Age. Contains 10 brand new watercolor paintings and more than 50 pencil drawings, specially commissioned from award-winning artist Alan Lee. Exclusive to this edition is a newly coloured version of the map of Numenor by Christopher Tolkien. And here, as you can see on this front and paper, is the full version of Alan Lee's painting The Fall of Númenor. So we can see from this leaflet that the book marshals material hitherto scattered through many posthumous publications from 1997, the Silmarillion onwards, and the editor, Brian Sibley, is known for supreme 1981 BBC radio adaptation of The Lord of the Rings as radio drama, and music as well was published and on this record. In a few moments I should start with the contents, but previous to that I would like just to mention those parts of history of Middle-earth from which Brian Sibley took some parts for this book, and those are the fifth part, The Lost Road and Other Writings, and the part 1 is titled The Fall of Númenor and The Lost Road. The Lost Road is Tolkien's time-traveling novel, but the Fall of Númenor is of the origin of the story, which persists from I think 1936 or 1937, when the Tolkien first time did a few sketches for this second age. And the next one is the 9th part, Sauron Defeated. And here we may find in part 3 the drawing of Vanadun. Those are some of the versions of the story of Númenor. And the final one is the 12th part, the Peoples of Middle-earth, where in the part 1 you may find the history of the Akallabeth, and as well the tale of years of the Second Age. And that's precisely did Brian Sibley as an editor, and you can find it in this prescription. And it says, The Fall of Númenor and Other Tales from the Second Age of Middle-earth, edited by Brian Sibley and compiled from The Lord of the Rings, The Silmarillion, The Unfinished Tales, volumes from History of Middle-earth, and other sources. Other sources are the letters of J.R.R. Tolkien. And the book is dedicated to Priscilla Reuel Tolkien, which passed away early this year. Well, The Fall of Númenor, as you could read here, is not a single story, and mostly it interweaves complex events and motifs into what Tolkien called feigned history. And it's quite sad that it is unfinished, and we may expect that the narrative is halting at times, as well in similar editions as The Fall of Gondolin, where we could find the evolution of the story. And the book was a compilation, to say, of versions of one story about the Fall of Gondolin. And with the Fall of Númenor, the situation is to say quite different, because, as I already said, the most of those stories are unfinished and are very much scattered in those books as a part of the history of Middle-earth. And as we may see here, Brian Sibley used the chronology at the back of The Lord of the Rings as a structuring framework. And within this framework, he tried to tell us as much as it can be a complete story about the whole history of the Second Age and all the events which happened through the age of man. And Alan Lee contributed with the 11 color plates, as well as many of those black and white sketches, which are quite marvelous when you live in the book like this. And in some type of prologue, Brian Sibley explained the intention is not to supplant these works. These works, he meant in The Lord of the Rings, The Silmarillion, The Unfinished Tales, and the parts from the History of Middle-earth. The intention is not to supplant these works, as each already stands as definitive presentation of J.R.R. Tolkien's writings, with peerless, insightful commentary and analysis by Christopher Tolkien, but rather to provide extracts from the above, with a few editorial interventions as possible, that illustrate in the author's own words the rich and tumultuous events of the Second Age, as summarized by J.R.R. Tolkien in his The Tale of Years, Chronology of the Westland, that appears as part of Appendix B in The Lord of the Rings, and which is reproduced at the beginning of this volume. For those wishing to delve deeper into its history, the notes provided at the end of the book, many of which draw upon Christopher Tolkien's own invaluable editorial expertise by reproducing or quoting from his own note through the original published sources and so on. And as I assumed, the book also includes extract from the letters of J.R. Tolkien and incorporates significant passages from The Lord of the Rings related to the Second Age, which provide important relevant material. In some of these, the text has been abridged or silently rearranged. Now I will just perform a quick skimming of the pages, just to show you the illustrations of Alan Lee and those beautiful sketches. The first one is the host of the Valar descend into Angband. Marvelously, I'm speechless. Then there is a map of Numenor and the geography of Numenor taken from the Unfinished Tales. Then, looking west from Andunier, look at these details. Alan Lee is such a magician. Death of Elros Tar miniature. It resembles much the effigies of the Anglo-Saxon kings, of course. Birth in Numenor of Silmarilion. Beautiful. There is a story about Aldarion and Erendis from the Unfinished Tales. And Aldarion departs Numenor. Then, around the year 1000, Sauron, alarmed by the growing power of Númenóreans, chooses Mordor as a land to make into a stronghold. He begins the building of Barad-dûr. And there is the illustration, the building of Barad-dûr. As we may see, this is Mount of Doom in the backstage. Tar Arkalime becomes the first ruling queen of Numenor. I wonder if he made some sketches of Beruthiel, we should see. And then the forging of the ring. Marvelous. Then Galadriel leads the elves through Moria. This is an unexpected encounter. Sauron forges the one ring in Dórad ruin. He completes the Barad-dûr. A region laid waste. Death of Celebrimbor. The gates of Moria are shut. Elrond retreats with remnants of the Noldor and founds the refugee of Imladris. And here are some impaling works. Sauron is taken as prisoner to Numenor, and Sauron seduced the king and corrupts the Númenóreans. And then the temple of Sauron on Meneltarma. Ar-Pharazôn assails Valinor. Gil-galad crosses the misty mountains. And the Battle of Dagoralad and defeat of Sauron, siege of Barad-dûr begins. And the last one, the last alliance of elves and men. And in the appendices, Brian summarized a brief chronicle of the Third Age of Middle-earth, and the Númenorian chapters from the Lost Road, from the fifth part of the history of Middle-earth. And then, as I mentioned, there are notes which are taken from the original Christopher Tolkien notes from already mentioned editions of the History of Middle-earth. And on the back-end paper there is a map of Middle-earth. And I think that would be all for this brief review, and waiting still for my regular edition to arrive, and maybe in some next videos I should match both editions when the regular one arrives to me. And I hope that the Silmarillion with Tolkien's illustrations will soon be here as well, both editions. So I should then make another one video with the story about the Silmarillion and that deluxe and regular edition. So, waiting for my next videos. You may take a short view on my previous videos regarding the other deluxe editions of Tolkien's books, and to some next video. Thank you for your attention and goodbye.